Welcome to another episode. You shouldn't see so much steering wheel. Welcome to another episode of Tottenham Drive-By with Adam William Cahill. I'm cheating a little bit because I'm not actually driving at the minute. I'm parked while my girlfriend goes in and does a bit of shopping. But I am thrilled, of course, to be coming back for another episode after a victory, and a definitive victory really against Nottingham Forest yesterday. It's excellent that we were able to come away with 2-0. No goals conceded, and Harry Kane with a brace. It's brilliant to see, our so-called talisman doing what he does best, and to do it in August is absolutely tremendous. We know it normally takes a while for him to get off the mark, but he seems to be really putting it away. I'm happy with the performance in the sense that we were able to prevent any chances from going in on our end. It must be said that both teams could have easily scored more. We could have let one or two in if the strikers were more precise for Nottingham Forest, one or two of their shots could have ended up in the back of the net. Although I do think Lloris looked very on it yesterday. But there was a couple of shots that went just wide, and who knows what might have happened on a different day. That being said, there were a couple of our chances that went squandered as well. And then, you got to say, Sonny. Let's talk about Sonny. I think it's devastating to see him so out of sorts, so out of form. And I think yesterday, Richarlison coming on and being absolutely spectacular it's going to put Sonny in a really, really awkward position where is he going to lose confidence now because there's someone coming in his position off the bench who's outperforming him, and we have to say that he is. So far, Richarlison has done more in the few minutes that he's been on the pitch than Sonny has done with the 70 plus minutes that he's been on the pitch every game of the first 4 games of the season. I hope that Spurs Sonny on to want to try even harder, to want to just get his head together more than anything. He was pissed when he came off yesterday, and I really, really hope he was pissed at himself, because if he was pissed at Conte, if he was pissed at management, if he was pissed at the decision, then he's very, very wrong, because it was absolutely the right decision to take him off. He was playing poorly yet again, and Richarlison came on and ensured that we put another goal away to make sure that the game was put to bed. Sonny needs to get his act together, and I wouldn't be surprised. Forgive me, I've got allergies and I could feel a sneeze coming on. I wouldn't be surprised if he was dropped for the next game. I really wouldn't. So, Sonny, please, I do not want to see you getting so frustrated that you see yourself being benched significantly this season, which probably won't happen considering the number of games we've got to play, but excuse me. He really needs to sort his head out. I don't want him to get to the point where Richarlison ends up getting favoured over him, and then he decides, am I going to stick around here? I really don't want to see that. I'd be devastated. Sonny's my favourite player. So I just really hope he gets his act together. But it says an awful lot for the team now that we have players that can come off the bench, that can do a job that even our most elite players are not able to do for whatever reason. That's incredible. I think... Okay, let's talk about Højbjerg a second. The guy is doing the job. My body is arguing against my points. Højbjerg was fantastic. Højbjerg was great yesterday. He's coming on every game. I'd be very, very happy to be proved wrong. If he was just, if he upped his game to the point where he plays better than he's ever played before, I'd be very happy to eat my words. Very, very happy. At the moment, defensive actions, very strong. Creative actions, very strong. The only area where I think he's a bit weak is, he's not pacey. If he's very far forward, this should be called the Sneeze Podcast. If He's very far forward. He does not get back fast enough, and he's not even busting a lung to get back. He doesn't. So there were a couple of times where Forest were on the counter, and it was like, "See you, Højbjerg. You're just out of the game now. You're gone because you're not chasing back anybody." Outside of that, I gotta call a spade a spade. Højbjerg had a great game yesterday, and I hope it continues. Long may it continue. I've heard people giving out about Jed Spence when he came off the bench. I don't think he had a bad game just because he lost the ball. At the end of the day, he didn't come on for Emerson. He came on for Bentancur, basically shifting us back. We had shifted to a 3-5-2 when Kulusevski came off for Basuma. But as soon as Bentancur had his injury and he went off, Spence came on for Bentancur, putting us back to a 3-4-3, and Spence was playing in the Kulusevski position. He was playing up front with Kane and Richarlison at that point. When you're playing in an advanced position, you are far more likely to lose the ball. You are far more likely to get dispossessed because you're trying something creative. You're trying to make a cross happen, or you're trying to get a shot off. You're in the final third. It's risk time. And the risk didn't pay off, and he got dispossessed. But he showed confidence, he showed skill, just didn't pay off. I don't think I saw glimmers of potential from Spence already, which for me that's the way I'm looking at it. I'm looking at that from a positive light for sure. Our defence solid. Can't argue against the defence yesterday. We didn't concede. Sanchez over 9 hours on the pitch and hasn't conceded yet. Fair play. Like, talk about keeping, talk about a backup to Romero. He's showing that he's well able, and I my concerns for Sanchez were only ever when he played on the left. On the right, he's well able to do a job. And I'm not, we've got no reasons to be concerned. Sanchez was the best defender of the three yesterday. He absolutely was, far and away. I think he's proving an awful lot of people wrong, which you love to see. I love the Højbjerg is proving me wrong at the moment. He's making me look silly at the minute. I'm very happy to admit it. I'm delighted to admit it because it's what's best for the team. I'm delighted that Richarlison is coming on and outplaying Sonny because it's what's best for the team, even though I love Sonny to bits. I am not, at the moment, still not concerned that we're grinding them out, because that's what you have to do if you're a top team when you're in a period where there's transitions happening, when they're still adapting to a philosophy and they're still trying to weave in the new players and stuff like that. And we're starting the season. Do you know what I mean? We've come off a pre-season which is totally different. We've got to get back into the rhythm of the Premier League. A lot of teams, look at Liverpool. Look at Manchester United, look at West Ham. There are teams that are not getting off to a good start already. We're not the only ones, but we're grinding the wins out. We're grinding out the 3 points. We grinded out a draw at Stamford Bridge, the hardest place for us to go. I'm happy at the moment. I am. I'm looking at the positives and saying we're grinding out victories when we're not playing at our best. And although Forest could have got a couple of goals in, we could have got a couple more. On a different day, it would have been 4-2, Excuse me. I'm going to wrap this up because otherwise it's just going to be mostly me blowing my nose for 10 minutes. The last thing I'll finish on is Bentancur. I really, really hope that it's only a minor knock. He probably won't play against West Ham now for safety reasons because concussion is not something you take lightly. And they're also now saying that Pape Matar is going to possibly not be leaving now. He might end up getting loaned out on a short loan in January instead, because we may need him as an extra central midfielder if Bentancur's injury is a little worse than we fear. So hopefully that isn't the case. Please, I'll be praying for Bentancur. If anyone out there who isn't aware of how serious that knock was, apparently we're holding on to Sarr because Bentancur might not be playing for a little while because of that knock. So if you are religious and you are the praying type, do keep Bentancur in your prayers to get better. And then look, on the transfer situation then, we're looking at getting in Dan James, seemingly. I'd love to know in the comments how you feel about Dan James as a potential signing. He's not what we would want, I think, in a... Look, Dan James isn't the ideal Brian Hill replacement, I think, in terms of like for like. What Dan James can do, though, is play on the left and the right. He can play wing back and inverted forward. He's a utility player. He could be a potential answer to the right wing back position, or an understudy to Perisic on the left wing back position. Because actually, this is the last thing I'll leave you on. Sessegnon sucked when he came on. Sessegnon has sucked every game that he's played. I'm so chuffed that Winks is gone. So chuffed that Winks is gone, because he was far and away our worst player. But we already had a little pocket of players that we knew were not up to snuff and Conte wanted rid. Lo Celso, Nombelli, Reguilon, Winks. Right? We knew they were gone. They were never going to see a Tottenham jersey ever again. Sessegnon, is one player that if I could beg Conte to throw into that camp, it would be him. I honestly think he's useless. I think Sessegnon is piss poor, and he's done a couple of things that have given him some kudos that I think is overshining how poor he is in general. He scored the first goal for us to open up the Premier League this season. That's going to give him some kudos, where I think he needs to go. He's not good enough. He's not good enough for the team, but people are going to think, oh yeah, well look, once in a blue moon he'll put in a decent cross. Yesterday, he didn't put in. He wasn't confident enough to cross the ball into Kane when he should have. He lost it. You saw Kane thinking, what an absolute sack this player is that I've got to deal with. Richarlison runs straight into the fray, takes the ball out on the left-hand side and does exactly what Sessegnon should have done, and puts the ball right on Harry Kane's head, who was still there waiting for it. Those players are champions. Sessegnon is dead weight. And I'd like him gone. And if Dan James came in to play as an understudy to Perisic on the left, to come on after 80 minutes or 70 minutes, whatever it is, to wrap up a game when Perisic, with at 33, he might not have 90 minutes in his legs anymore, which is concerning in and of itself. Dan James might be able to do a job. What do you think? I want to know in the comments what you think about Dan James. That's my take on the Notts Forest game. I think that we're still very, very strong. We're still in a very, very good position, taking the points that we've taken from these games. And I think we'll only get better as the season goes on. And the games are only going to get easier once we get past October, November. All of our hard away games are, apart from Liverpool, are soon. So even if we have to dig down deep to get a little bit scrappy in these games, please God, these will be our hardest games, and we'll have a string of successes, nothing but successes, leading up to Christmas and all in the latter half of the season. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Thanks very much for listening. That was Tottenham Drive By episode 3, and I'll see you after the West Ham game. Come on, you Spurs.